As we roll through February, we have a tight race for the Norris. And I always see a lot of comments about who's going to win it. And I decided to put as many guys on here as I can to point something out. So 50 points is the highest, 29 points is the lowest. And the lowest on the list is Yossi. Now, Nashville fans are going to tell you Yossi's a pretty darn good defenseman. And he is. Now, if you're talking about favorites, okay, favorites right now for who's going to win it. Klingberg will be in the conversation because he is leading in points. Burns is not far behind. Carlson, I'm not sure if he's going to get that many votes for Norris. I want to say that he will. But I really think that Doughty and Subban will trump him. Subban has the 13 goals, and Doughty is Drew Doughty. He's got the name recognition. And if he scores about 50 points, don't bet against Drew Doughty getting another Norris Trophy. And then you look further down, and you've got Victor Hedman, who's come back from injury, and if he plays the way Victor Hedman can, he didn't miss that many games. So he can still get Norris Trophy votes. And then from there, it gets kind of murky. So those are your 5. I think right now those are the 5. But St. Louis fans will point to Pietrangelo. Philadelphia fans will point to Ghost. Philadelphia fans will also point to Provorov. Boston fans will point to Charlie McAvoy. And this is where, people are going to say, oh, you're crazy. Why are you mentioning Charlie McAvoy? Charlie McAvoy's playing big minutes. And he's playing very well. Boston has allowed the fewest goals in the league. Now, another defenseman that's not on this list and plays for Boston who may get votes is Zdeno Chara. Chara is having a fantastic year despite his age being an issue. And it is an issue right now. And that's where, when you look at John Carlson in Washington, he's going to kind of get forgotten. You look at Erik Karlsson in Ottawa, and due to Ottawa just being awful, and his foot injury, and the fact that he's had problems defensively, I can't see Karlsson being in the mix. Seth Jones, probably not. Ryan Suter, probably not. Morgan Rielly, I also say that about Rielly. This is why when people ask me, do you think this defenseman is going to be a Norris winner? If I say, no, probably not. It's not that I don't think they're a really good defenseman. It's that I really think there are so many really solid top 2 defensemen right now that you can look and say, well, Nick Leddy has had a decent season for himself, but he's way down the chart. Roman Josi, 29 points in 47 games. He's been really solid defensively, and he's not going to get into this mix. And I've talked about that before. I've talked about a Rod Langway award, a Dana Merzen award, whatever you want to give it. An award that goes to a defensive defenseman would kind of get rid of this, because part of my problem with the Norris Trophy, and I've talked about this before, is that I don't think points tell the story. It's not like the Art Ross Trophy, where the Art Ross Trophy goes to the leading scorer. It's not like the Hart Trophy, where you can kind of understand that your MVP is probably your leading scorer. Although Chris Pronger won an MVP, won a Hart Trophy without being a leading scorer, and Dominik Hasek is a goaltender, and didn't Theodore win a Hart Trophy too? I think he did. So, I mean, it's not always a leading scorer, but usually if you're a leading scorer, you're going to get Hart Trophy votes. I really think when you look at defense, it should be who's best at preventing goals at the other end. And then the points should be secondary. But when we start talking about who's going to get votes for Defenseman of the Year, one of the first things we look at is, well, who's the leading scorer? The thing for Burns is that he didn't have a goal around the end of November. Now he's got 8. And I think he should be, isn't he at 9? Yeah, I think he got one today. I don't think that's on this list. He's actually at 43 points in 52 games. Burns is on fire. And based on the fact that he's won it before, he can win it again. my issue with Burns was always this. Burns comes into the league as a defenseman, and he's a good defenseman. Then the Minnesota Wild decided, you know what, we're going to put him at forward. They put him at forward, and he scores a bunch of goals. And then, in the meanwhile, he ends up in San Jose. San Jose goes, we're going to put you on the blue line. And now, to me, it looks like Brent Burns still has the defense, and the offensive skill he has is in part due to the fact that he played forward in the NHL as long as he did. And as well as he did. So, is Brent Burns the best defenseman in the league? Or is he the best rover in the league? Is he the best guy that can play defense and forward? And is that the measure of a Norris Trophy winner? Because that's the thing for me. Should the offense count? It's the Selke Award thing all over again. That if a defensive forward, let's say Patrice Bergeron has a year where in 82 games he scores 30 points, but defensively he's as good as ever, I would know he's not going to win the Selke because there's another defensive forward who's going to get 50 or 55 points who's going to get it instead. Is this something that you should look at and go, well, that's a mark of a Norris Trophy defenseman? Back in the 80s and in the 90s, Paul Coffey didn't win very many of them. Didn't win very many Norris Trophies. I think he won 2. I believe it was 2 that he won. And one of those was in Detroit when he learned to play defense. Really, truly learned to play defense. Being a top-scoring blue liner to me doesn't mean you're the best blue liner in the league. And I've said that before, where maybe that could hurt John Klingberg. I am not saying he doesn't deserve nomination and that he doesn't deserve consideration. I'm saying that I really think this is Burns' award. And I think there's going to be votes definitely between, as I said, if Hedman can pick up where he left off, Hedman will get votes. Doughty will get votes. Subban, Burns, Klingberg. Subban's getting into it. Pietrangelo, I think, has fallen off a bit. Ghost, and again, and Provorov, there's all kinds of guys in there. And my question has always been, is this a list of the best defensemen, or is this just the list of the top scoring defensemen? Because it's not necessarily a list of the best defensive defensemen in the league. It's an issue that I've kind of discussed before, but I thought, you know what, we're in that part of the year where we're going to start talking about trophy winners and trying to predict it. And right now, yeah, Burns. And that's why when I did my power rankings last night, Brent Burns for me is the Norris winner. Because he's been there before, and right now he might be the biggest name on the blue line, and that's including guys like Subban, Doughty, Ghost, Pietrangelo. Brent Burns he's intimidating when he's on his game. But does all of that offense mean he's playing better in his own zone? That's my issue. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And again, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.